right, we're gonna stretch our quads now. So if you are at home and you can do the couch stretch and stretch your leg that way, that's a really nice way of doing that. But in yoga class, we don't necessarily have benches or something to do that stretch with. So we're gonna work to stretch and open up the front of the thighs and the legs. You're gonna come into a relatively short lunge position. So about where you would lay down your hips for 90-90 is where you're gonna put your front foot. And then wiggle your back leg up towards the wall so that your knee is pretty close to the baseboard. I think that's about as close as I can get my knee. I like the blocks here because now I can put my fist and hand on the block instead of having like no support for my hands and legs. And as I come up into this stretch, I'm going to try to squeeze my glute just a little bit, draw the tailbone under slightly, and as much as I can, sit back towards the leg. I'm going to move the blocks just a little closer back with me so I don't have to reach as far for them. This front leg is pressing firmly down into the floor to give you a little press back. And what you want to watch out for here in this is that you aren't just throwing your upper body back into the wall and arching the back, right? Instead, think tail and abs kind of pull in and under just a little bit. Keep the ribs into your body and just as much as you can sitting back towards that heel. And you should feel some deep sensation from either top of the hip down to the knee, maybe in the meat of the quads, right? Depends on where your legs are tight. Stay here for about 5 breaths, maybe 10. If you want to add a little extra to this, take your arm of the leg that's down. This is where the blocks are especially handy, and just stretch a little bit to the side. So if you add a little bit of lateral flexion here, it usually just deepens the stretch down into that leg that's on the ground. And take about 5 breaths here in that lateral rotation, so you've got that stretch through your abs all the way down to your knee. And then you can bring the hand down. Getting out of this is a little bit precarious because you're kind of spring-loaded. Move your blocks out of the way. I like to bring my knee down here on that front leg and then get my leg away from the wall. And usually I just wiggle the foot around, the toes around because it's been pretty well compressed there. And then setting up for the other side. Moving back so that your knee is fairly close to the wall. One thing that can be helpful if your knee feels extra sensitive, being on the floor, on a wood floor like this can sometimes be a little bit too much pressure for the knee, so you can roll your mat over, kind of double it up, or add a little towel there, and then bring the foot towards the wall as much as you can, getting that knee right underneath your hip there. Hands on the blocks, and then using your breath to draw your body back towards the wall, drawing your ribs in, and slightly squeezing the glute so that you get a little bit of rotation of the pelvis under you. And after 5 to 10 breaths or so, you feel that deep sensation, that stretch through the front of the leg. You can add a little bit of side bending to it. So adding the lateral flexion, stretching over so that you feel that stretch. Now, maybe through the right side of the abs, down into that leg. And as you go into lateral flexion, you just want to make sure that you're still keeping your ribs drawn in, using that breath to help deepen the stretch. And then you can bring your hand back down to the block, remove yourself from the wall, and quads are stretched.